Hello and welcome to Firstpost America. I'm Eric Ham and we're live in the nation's capital of Washington, D.C. And over the next few minutes, we'll take you from the United States and around the world, covering all the top stories of the day. But before that, here's a look at the latest headlines. In Syria, fighting between government security forces and supporters of ousted leader Bashar al-Assad takes the death toll to over 1,000. Washington blames the rise in violence on radical Islamic groups who are allegedly targeting minorities. The United States explores a minerals for security deal with the Democratic Republic of the Congo. This as Rwanda-backed rebel groups capture more towns in the eastern part of the war-torn nation. Romania's election authority bans far-right pro-Russia candidate Călin Georgescu for running in May's presidential election rerun. This despite the populist candidate winning the first round in November of last year. A one-day strike by airport worker unions at 13 German airports forces the cancellation of thousands of flights. Union workers are demanding higher wages as they continue their 24-hour walkout. And Ecuador refuses to receive migrants of other nationalities that are deported by the United States. This as immigration becomes a hot-button issue in the South American country ahead of the presidential elections in April. We began in the United States, where President Donald Trump sat for an interview with Fox News on Sunday, where he spoke about his tariffs and their impact on the U.S. economy. Now, when asked about the possibility of the country slipping into a recession this year, the president declined to rule out the possibility. Of course, a recession occurs when there is a prolonged period of economic decline that's sparked by a decrease in output, consumer spending, and employment. Recession also leads to a decline in industrial production and household income, which means that not only do products become more expensive, but salaries of Americans fail to beat inflation rates, forcing many to cut into their savings. Now, after the interview, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick went into firefighting mode, where he rejected a possible economic downturn this year. Now, the United States has been a net importer for decades and relies heavily on Canada, Mexico, and China for consumer goods, the very same countries of which President Trump has imposed tariffs.
Our country, from an economic standpoint, a financial standpoint, and a trade standpoint, has been absolutely ripped off by almost every country in the world. Canada, Mexico, and then you just go right down the line. India charges us massive tariffs, massive. You can't even sell anything into India. It's almost restrictive. It is restrictive. You know, we do very little business inside. They've agreed, by the way, they want to cut their tariffs way down now because somebody's finally exposing them for what they've done. And same thing with China, same thing with a lot of other countries. And the EU has been a terrible abuser of this country. I mean, the EU was formulated in order to take advantage of the United States, and they have taken it, but they're not taking advantage when I'm in charge.
Meanwhile, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum and Canada's new Prime Minister Mark Carney have vowed to impose reciprocal tariffs on the United States. The tariff war is already impacting Americans who are now paying more for Mexican imports like cars, beer, tequila, and avocados. And for Americans who want to build new homes, well, they're now paying for higher prices for lumber, which is imported from Canada, along with gasoline and maple syrup. Now, despite obvious indicators of the harmful impact on the American economy, President Trump believes his tariff war will eventually bring jobs back to the United States.
Think of it, 90,000 factories are gone since the beginning of NAFTA. So we're not going to have that, and we're going to see them build it back. Now we've already had 5 major automobile companies. First time you've heard this in a long time, since my first term, actually, where we were really rocking and rolling, and then Biden came in and he stopped everything. Like such a stupid thing to do, not even a believable thing. But we have many auto plants now coming in. We have big chip plants. We have the biggest chip company in the world, most powerful, probably one of the most powerful companies in the world. Wouldn't you say, Kevin? And he's coming in and they're building one of the largest chip plants in the world. That'll be done in Arizona, mostly in Arizona.
Now, apart from goods becoming more expensive, President Trump's on-again, off-again tariffs have left investors and financial markets in turmoil as stock markets remain nervous about the president's next actions. Lots of power comes with lots of perks. Whether it's playing golf or retreating to the beach, both President Donald Trump and former President Joe Biden have taken full advantage of their preferred escapes. But these trips come with a hefty price tag, one that taxpayers are left to cover. President Trump's golf outings have already cost over $18 million in just 48 days. And during his first term, his trips to the fairway costed American taxpayers more than $150 million. Everyone deserves time off on the weekends, but if you are the commander-in-chief, it certainly comes with a hefty cost. Our next report takes you inside.
U.S. President Donald Trump and former President Joe Biden both love their escapes. While President Trump hits the golf course, former President Biden preferred unwinding in Delaware. Now, while the pastimes sound nice and refreshing, they come with a cost. A cost that is making American taxpayers dish out millions. But which getaway is more expensive? Let's take a look. Trump's return to presidency brought back his love for golf. In just 48 days, the American leader has already played 13 times and has even spent a whopping $18 million on travel and security. The president's most outings happened at his West Palm Beach course near Mar-a-Lago, where he has played 10 times. 3 others took place at his Doral resort near Miami International Airport. Of course, security costs for these trips are staggering. During his first term, each Mar-a-Lago visit costed over $3 million in 2017. Trump's golf trips costed taxpayers $151.5 million in total. Adjusted for inflation, that number is staggeringly high today. Now, flying Air Force One isn't cheap either. Military C-17 cargo aircraft carry his motorcade. Armed police boats patrol the waters. A Coast Guard vessel stays stationed offshore, and explosive-sniffing dogs comb the grounds. After all of this is marked checked, that's when the president enters to swing his stick. With already over $18 million spent, it is evident that if Trump continues at this pace, he will easily surpass his previous golf tab of $151.5 million.
Nice ball, Mr. President.
Former President Biden may not have played golf, but he loved the beach. Since January 20, 2021, the former leader made 76 trips home. He spent at least 265 days in Delaware, which was nearly 40% of his presidency. Newcastle County alone spent over $3.27 million on Biden's security. The bulk of this $3.08 million went to salaries and benefits. The remaining $190,000 covered paramedics who followed Biden wherever he visited. Flying Biden home wasn't cheap either. A Fox News report has found his travels to Delaware had cost $11 million by November 2022, and each round trip on Air Force One or Marine One costed around $200,000. While without a doubt it is clear that Trump and Biden both have different ways of cooling off, their habits have clearly differed. Trump prefers the greens, while Biden loved the waves. However, while Trump's golf trips involved complex logistics, Biden's frequent flights also raked up costs. Washington offers plenty of perks. The White House has a private movie theater, swimming pool, billiard room and a running track. Even Camp David is just 30 minutes away by helicopter. But both the current and the former president choose to splurge. And for now, as the spending continues, taxpayers foot the bill. Whether it's for golf swings or beach waves, the question remains, how much will President Trump splurge on his golf trips despite promising to slash billions in federal spending?
The internet has a habit of turning serious moments into funny spectacles, and this time, caught in the fun is Vice President J.D. Vance. His face, stretched, bloated, pixelated beyond recognition, has become the latest viral sensation. And what began as a simple photo edit has now transformed into an unstoppable wave of surreal distortions. But how did it all begin, and where is it headed next? Here's more on the Vance Meme Fest.
The internet has a new obsession, and its name is JD Vance. Or at least a warped, stretched, and surreal version of him. His face, puffed up, shrunk down, twisted sideways, has flooded every social media feed from X to TikTok. But how exactly did we get here? Like most great internet absurdities, it started small. Back in October 2024, a user on X posted a slightly altered image of Vance rounding his cheeks. The user's deal was that every 100 likes would make his face even rounder. But the post blew up, spiraling into a meme storm. Republican Georgia Congressman Mike Collins later fanned the flames, posting a hyper-masculine Giga Chad edit of Vance. And of course, the internet, in its infinite wisdom, responded by doing the exact opposite, turning the vice president into a lollipop-clutching baby. Even though for months the meme lay dormant, resting, waiting, but then February ended and came the Oval Office showdown. In a heated exchange, Vance demanded to know if Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky had ever said thank you.
You should be thanking the president for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
And that was the moment the internet bounced.
I've actually watched and seen the stories.
Within hours, a new wave of Vance edits flooded X. One particularly viral image depicted him with an enormous smile, captioned, "You have to say please and thank you, Mr. Zelensky." And that was it. The floodgates burst open. JD Vance morphed into everything: an Oompa Loompa, Bob Ross, an alien, Mona Lisa, including in the world of Simpsons. While some edits were artistic, some were grotesque. Some were so bizarre they defied explanation. And X and Instagram became breeding grounds for surreal Vance video compilations. However, the reactions were wildly divided. The MAGA supporters depicted Vance as a Giga Chad icon, a symbol of strength, while the Democratic supporters kept up the mockery, portraying him as a tantrum-throwing toddler. Eventually, the meme collapsed in on itself, and Vance had become a concept rather than a person. But the real twist? JD Vance saw the memes and he liked them. Speaking to The Blaze, he admitted he found the whole thing hilarious. And obviously, his response triggered another wave of edits, each one weirder than the last. But finally came the day when the vice president joined in, posting a Once Upon a Time in Hollywood meme featuring himself. Some thought this was the end, but the meme had peaked as Elon Musk too chimed in, calling the vice president awesome. And the images kept multiplying. The edits became more abstract. Some users even joked that they had forgotten what JD Vance actually looked like. Others wondered if this avalanche of distorted versions would give him body dysmorphia. And as each day a new edit continues to surface, the internet braces itself for whatever came next.
And now moving to President Donald Trump's billionaire buddy Elon Musk. The Tesla and SpaceX CEO is facing increasing backlash for his involvement in the Trump administration. In fact, over the weekend, thousands rallied across the country demanding Elon Musk's removal from all the administration efforts, along with the shutdown of the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE. Notably, Musk heads DOGE and is responsible for the firing of thousands of federal employees after the billionaire was tasked with cutting government spending. However, Musk's actions have resulted in him receiving more backlash than goodwill. And it seems like Europeans too are tired of the billionaire's antics and meddling. In fact, over the weekend, anti-Musk protests erupted in Washington, D.C., New York, California, West Virginia, Georgia, and Oregon. However, the movement went global as protests extended to cities in Spain, Portugal, France, and the United Kingdom.
The Doge chainsaw is going to affect us all. It's going to defund life-saving research. It's going to threaten our economy. It's going to impede innovation, and it's going to kneecap an entire generation of scientific talent.
I think people like Elon Musk don't understand that all the basic medicines that they are benefiting from, everyday life, science that they're benefiting from would be really hampered if NIH funding is cut. And we want medicine to be better, we want science to continue to contribute, and that is going to require NIH funding to not be cut.
Meanwhile, several Tesla dealerships and charging stations were targeted and vandalized nationwide during the anti-Musk protests. In fact, a Tesla dealership in Portland, Oregon was targeted by gunshots, damaging multiple cars and shattering office windows. And in Massachusetts, several Tesla charging stations were set on fire as anger against the billionaire continues to grow. However, Elon Musk has accused billionaire George Soros for funding the protests and rallies without providing any direct credible proof. But protesters say they're unhappy with Musk for his poorly thought out budget cuts, which has left thousands unemployed.
Elon Musk, he bought himself a president. I mean, he's real rich, and he definitely is running and telling Trump what to do right now. You saw that in the cabinet meeting where he was standing up and walking around and telling, and Trump just sits there like this. So Elon Musk bought a president. He bought the presidency of the United States, and now he's going to destroy us.
Elon Musk's political involvement has put him under immense public scrutiny, and for many Americans, he's gone from being an anti-gasoline, pro-environment crusader to a rogue billionaire upending global governments, and not for the better. And now finally, we move to Argentina, where President Javier Milei has stepped up military presence in waters south of the country. This is to track and counter illegal and unregulated fishing in the region, which Argentina says is mostly being carried out by Chinese vessels. Argentina has reported an overwhelming scale of flotilla near a maritime boundary, which separates its most restrictive exclusive economic zone from less regulated international waters. This area, which is about 200 nautical miles off the coast of southern Argentina, witnesses a large number of vessels hunting for squid, which are abundant there and are a vital food source in the marine ecosystem. In fact, in January, Argentina carried out a military surveillance operation using its aircraft and warships. It identified a total of 380 fishing vessels, many of which sailed from Asia. The operation exposed a larger pattern of Chinese-flagged fishing vessels potentially engaging in harmful fishing in or near Argentine waters. Around 200 Chinese fishing vessels were identified in the area in late February. And the Argentine military is now pushing to combat Chinese fishing operations, as experts warn the region is on the brink of an environmental collapse. Illicit fishing has plagued coastal Argentina for decades, and the country says Chinese vessels are frequent violators. Argentina's Navy also says that foreign fishing vessels turn off their tracking systems to avoid detection. Driving the expansion of China's global fishing footprint is the ever-growing demand now. Its appetite for seafood has soared, making it the world's largest seafood consumer. Once a luxury reserved for coastal elites, squid and shrimp have become everyday dishes in Chinese cities. Having depleted their domestic fishing resources, Chinese fishing vessels have been increasingly spotted off the coast of South America, Africa, and in parts of the disputed South China Sea. That's First Post America for this Monday. I'm Eric Ham, signing off from our studios in Washington, D.C. Thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in.